Apologies in advance for the graphic nature of what you're about to see.
Hey everybody, and welcome again to another Comic Issues video review. I'm Anthony Silva.
Hey, it's Andrew Blind.
And we are here yet again with another DC animated film, this time being
Superman vs. the Elite.
A story adapted from a Joe Kelly highly acclaimed series.
Yeah, the press release we got had a lot of notes.
It's got a list of awards and acclaim that comes along with it. The original story is called What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. A story very unique among other Superman stories in that it's a very much a morality tale.
Yeah, it's kind of almost a test of Superman's like moral standards, like how he wants to handle things. It's like really pushing him to the limits.
This being another animated, slightly adapted from the original artist Doug Mahnke. It was close, but this is a very animated, much less.
It's kind of interesting because the artwork, it took a minute for me to adjust to it. Mm-hmm. Like at first, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, and as it slowly progressed, I really did like the art style, especially Superman. Like he had the chin thing.
He had a big old Leno chin. For me, the art style was inconsistent. Mm-hmm. It's good at sometimes, and then other angles, the style just does not work for me at all.
Fair enough.
And like that chin is a big kind of problem for me.
It's a deterrent.
Well, if you notice, sometimes different angles, it kind of disappears into his neck. It doesn't work very well. This is very exaggerated body style for Superman, but nothing really feeling lacking other than kind of an inconsistent nature of how the characters are portrayed.
But once the action started, though, the animation always just seems to like kick up a lot. Yeah, what I liked was the kind of how the story went. There wasn't really a lull or a boring part in the story. It was just kind of like a real nice flow to it.
No, the story it does have a very nice flow. It doesn't have very many dips. Gives you enough story to understand the new characters in the Elite. Manchester Black, Cold Cast, Hat, and Menagerie, who turn out to be British MI5 agents who strike out on their own to be heroes. Their intent from the beginning is to be heroes, but with a very different portrayal
kind of the greater good.
Justice.
Greater good is how I'd say. They're for the greater good.
Yes, but their code of ethics definitely clashes with Superman.
It's a little bit different, and it's kind of interesting how they portray it, because I found this film actually kind of toes the line to soapbox. Like, it almost gets to that point where they're getting preachy, but then it just kind of removes itself a little bit. And you're like, okay, good. I'm glad that you didn't get preachy there, because I was really starting to get, like, just a little bit
It's solid. I didn't feel that it was preachy at all. I do feel that the characters... the Hat and Menagerie and Cold Cast took a very far back seat to Manchester Black, who tells the story. He's the one that we really learn about, his background as he tells it to us.
His secrets.
And you really start feeling kind of sympathetic. He's probably the best way I could really explain him and kind of the driving force of the Elite is they're blue-collar heroes.
And I actually thought it was kind of interesting was just how quickly everyone jumped on board with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, like at the very beginning, you're kind of like, well, everyone loves Superman. Yeah. They can see that they're like, well, we don't completely understand you, Superman, but hell, we got your back.
But Superman, you're our hero. The movie tells us in the beginning that Superman is the hero of the people, and that although some of them kind of clash with his morality, they do still see him as, the hero among heroes. Mm-hmm. Which I feel is really shown in a point in the movie where the Elite first meet Superman. They are actually struck in awe of meeting him for the first time. It's meeting, their hero. Yeah. Lois and Clark have a very kind of different relationship this time around.
Very much so.
I would almost call it more mature, but that's only by comparison of how we usually see Lois and Clark being either not knowing that Superman is Clark Kent or just simply being a loving fan. Polly Perrette from NCIS does
fantastic.
I don't agree.
Really?
I'm not saying she's terrible.
Well, I liked her characteristics.
She definitely didn't do a job that outshined anyone else to me.
Well, I don't think she outshined, but I don't think that was her role. That was kind of what my feeling was.
It's not a Lois role, but I do feel others have done it better.
She was supportive, but she wasn't like everybody, I'm Lois. It's kind of like, I'm Lois, I'm here.
It was a very low-key performance that stays consistent, stays steady. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just saying she didn't wow me. In this one, Polly plays Lois as a very strong reporter who is determined to get the story despite any kind of mild risk, but isn't foolish enough to jump into a war zone where, she could easily be killed. She doesn't depend on Superman to always
That's what I liked about it, was that she wasn't dependent on Superman.
Yeah.
She appreciated the help.
She worked with Superman as opposed to depending on him.
The scene that got me for their relationship in particular was when he was carrying her. He was flying her over to the Fortress of Solitude, and she was like, you're lucky I'm letting you do this. Like that kind of like, because he... Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what, but there are some things that Superman was kind of,
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what that means?
I don't know what it means.
Okay, the is kind of like, Superman kind of put his foot in his mouth when he didn't need to. He's super. He should know when to not put his super foot in his super mouth,
He ain't super smart.
Well, he's kind of super smart.
Yeah, and that's the thing that bugs me. Oh, big props to George Newbern, who comes back as Superman.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you realize... Tim Daly isn't the only Superman you know.
That is
George
true.
Newbern is also a classic voice.
He does have a very powerful voice to it, too.
Yeah. The morality of this tale is really, I think, the shining point of the entire movie. It's how the people really want justice, and they don't feel they're getting justice when villains like the Atomic Skull that we see in the beginning of the movie just escapes later and comes back to be another menace. All these revolving door jails where supervillains just move in and out is really not getting results for the people. And when Manchester Black and the Elite come through and start killing villains, the people applaud and support this new way of heroism.
Yeah, because it's very much they think that's what they want.
Yes, because it's kind of an immediate gratification that justice is done, despite the fact that there is no law involved in it.
Absolutely.
There's only might makes right.
Yeah, and that was repeated over and over again.
It has very poignant moments on both sides of that spectrum.
Absolutely.
For and against, and really culminates in this very large kind of end battle that really is a little jarring to watch in the sense of seeing where characters go, how they act and react. It really stirs an emotional response that, I think is really amazing. This story in particular, both comic and in the movie, I feel is just one of those stories that people don't realize comic books are telling. It's not just beat 'em up bad guys. It is also very deep, and thought out morality tales.
And that was what was great about this one in particular, because one of the problems you have with Superman as a character is, well, essentially you have to find somebody equally as strong and then punch them together until one's victorious or the other one's dead. And this one was very much, what I liked about it wasn't just from Superman, it wasn't just from the Elite, it was from everybody's perspective, including the watchers, like people just watching them.
The whole thing is kind of televised, so the world reacts.
Yeah, and you get to see that reaction,
everything.
And it was moving at times, where you're just like, oh shit, like I understand how, as a spectator I would see this,
Absolutely. And it's kind of a very eye-opening as to the reaction of the people, how much you really believe, how a part of you may even agree. We put up a similar question on our Facebook
that was
a little
quite
bit
shocking,
ago.
The answers.
If you go just to last week, the early June, our podcast, where we brought up the question, is it okay for a superhero to kill? It's a very gray area that has merit and also is destructive. So Superman versus the Elite.
Okay.
Where are you ranking this now?
Where am I ranking this? It's very high up there.
It's really good.
It is really good. I would say, okay, because my tops are Superman, Apocalypse is pretty much my go-to. I would say maybe fourth in line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Superman, Apocalypse, Green Lantern, First Flight, Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, Green Lantern. It's got a soft spot. Cool. It wasn't Nathan Fillion voice, but I still liked it.
It's a good story.
But Wonder Woman, and then probably this Elite movie. Because what I liked about it in particular was I felt that I could show it to other people that aren't comic book fans, and they would get something out of it. What I think the only requirement essentially is that they know who Superman is, which I don't know a person that really doesn't know Superman. Like, he's kind of the failsafe. How about for you? How did this rank for you?
It's tough to say. There's essentially so many now that it's
good lord, there are.
I'm losing my own track. This is very solid. I would definitely own this one. It's worth it. The animation is good enough. The story is great. It's very high. I would definitely put it maybe the tail end of top 5, definitely the top 10 of my favorites. So if you have anything to say about Superman vs. the Elite, if you've seen it, if you take our suggestion to go see it, go ahead and tell us down here in the comments section. And be sure you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. We are very active with our geek questions, as mentioned before. And be sure you're always subscribed to the YouTube channel here, where you can never miss another Comic Issues video,
absolutely,
trailers, and everything else geeky.
Yeah, the point is that this is a community and this is for everybody, and we'd love if you guys participate and join in on fun.
Absolutely. So until next time, fall, Dark Knight is coming, kids.
Oh my gosh, the Dark Knight.
I'm Anthony Silva.
Andrew Pline.
And we will see you next time.
Awesome.